Hey guys, Ryan Amit from Chasing Financial Freedom podcast. Hope you guys are having a great day. Today on the podcast, we have Joseph Drolshagen. I think I got it. Not close
Close.
enough, but close. So we'll do close in horseshoes and grenades. So Joseph is featured on in Fox, CBS, and NBC, along with being named one of the top business coaches in America for 2 consecutive years in the NYC Journal in Disruptors magazine. I need more coffee, guys. Joey is known for helping realtors and small business owners to unlock their pathway to success through creating accelerating systems of habits and total mindset alignment. Sir, welcome into the show.
Great to be here with you, Ryan. Really looking forward to a good conversation.
So I said Joseph, and I look on the video and you go by Joey. So let's go by Joey, is what it
Okay.
looks like.
Either one works.
Hey, it's your name. I'm trying to follow the rules. So if you say Joey, we're going Joey.
Alrighty.
So before we jump into what you're doing, a little bit about who you are.
Mhm. So I have this. Okay, I'll be quick. I grew up in a very struggling environment in a blue collar family in Detroit, Michigan, and there were five of us kids. And my mom and dad, I just saw them beat themselves up in every way possible, just trying to make ends meet, keep a roof over our head, food in our mouth. And I remember even at 9 years old thinking, man, something's not right here. It's just they worked exhaustively, they just beat themselves up. I saw what it did to their relationship, and I at 9, I had that thought, and I thought, "Man, I'm not gonna live like you people." I had gone over a friend's house, and his dad gave us $20 to go to Dairy Queen and stuff, and just boom, and handed it to us. In my family, you had to save up to do that. So then I got into my adult years, and I started repeating those same behaviors, right? I started struggling. If something came easy to me, I thought I didn't earn it. And at 22 years old, I struggled financially and just in every area of relationships. And at 22 years old, I just thought, man, I don't want to live like this. I could see that pattern repeating. And I became a student of the works I do today. But part of my conditioning was that a man gets a job and supports a family and hopefully lives long enough to enjoy some retirement. So I got it in corporate America and I built a career in there. I ended up as a vice president of sales, helping organizations in bankruptcy get back to profitability. But I maintained my studies in this whole thing of shifting my beliefs really about life and how it had to be so hard and strugglesome. And in doing so, I've gone from just going 4,000 miles every week trying to build a sales territory to seeing a sales territory build. And like one, for instance, is adding a $25 million contract to a $50 million organization where it just unfolded and things started happening and things, but I couldn't figure out the science behind it. It was like, okay, so some good things are happening, but how is this happening? And as I went deeper into it and found out about the subconscious, which is what triggers our subconscious is made up of the words we use, the thoughts we entertain, our beliefs, patterns. We don't even have to experience something for it to be in our belief system. Somebody could tell us something. And if they're an authoritative figure in our life, we take on that belief. We never even experience it or challenge it so often for ourselves. We just live through that belief. So when I understood the subconscious and how the subconscious triggers our brain waves to the actions we take or we don't take, I could understand why is it I know up here what I want, but my experiences are not leading to that. I could start bringing that alignment in place of it. And in the process of that, I developed the SMP method, which is subconscious mindset training. And over the past decade, 11 years, whatever it's been, is I've helped 1,000 people, companies, realtors, organizations to really shift those patterns, those paradigms quickly and start bringing about the things that they desire.
Curious why you said specifically companies, but you went into realtors. Why that niche?
I work with, when I say companies, I don't work with the big corporations as such. I work with the business owners, entrepreneurs, realtors fits into that, insurance and people that have their own insurance agency and things like that. So it all fits together. They're all meant to be like, if you look into real estate, it's meant to be an entrepreneurial type of a position, type of a lifestyle. And people get into real estate because of the thoughts of having doing well financially, of having freedom of time, of having, but if you talk to realtors, they'll laugh about that freedom of time because they feel like it's going nonstop all the time. The same thing with business owners. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
The same thing with business owners, and the entrepreneur is really that. It's really the entrepreneur is not a logical mind type of a business person. It's creativity, right? When you think of an entrepreneur, they do creative things to bring about what they want to experience and what they want. And but yet so many people try to live through the logical mind to figure out all the steps and how to do it. So when you look at things, even the things we're being told in condition, like if you want something, look for somebody who has it, figure out what they did and do it. That's pretty standard across the board there, but it never happens that way. When you look at even coaching programs, which is where I differ, when you look at coaching programs that give you that roadmap to success, what they're doing is they're taking a roadmap that works for them and they're sharing it with everybody. So there's nothing dishonest or anything in it. But what happens is less than 1% of those people following that path ever experience the same level of results as the person who put it together. So what I've done is I've set the SMT method up so it brings about the journey. If you and I were working together in one of the programs, it would bring about the journey for you to determine what works best for you based on your uniqueness, based on your conditioning, based on your desires and your vision for the life you want. And so it's really every 1,000 people go through it, but it's an individual journey for each one of those people that have gone through it.
Tailor-made is what comes to my mind.
Yes.
Just right out of the chute. Very interesting, and I wanna dig into that because it's this sounds bad, but there's a lot of coaches out there, and all they're doing is charging a ton of money, and as you say, they're not getting those results, and it's somewhat the industry has somewhat of a bad knock on it. But when you can provide a service like yourself and it's unique, it truly can change outcomes. And I plug on realtors and so forth, and just for the simple fact of I'm in the real estate space, we're in the affordable housing space, we're in the lending space. And at some point, we'll get into the real estate side to where we'll have a brokerage or something to that extent. But that mindset, I can relate to. I understand what realtors go through on a daily basis, and it's the same thing that entrepreneurs go through. And you talked about the creativity, and probably my biggest struggles when I got into being an entrepreneur coming from corporate America was um, creativity. I'm an operator. I ran call centers. I ran collection agencies. I ran financial instruments where it all had people. The creativity wasn't there. It was just making stuff happen, and it totally changed and threw up my world. That's why I joke about it is I failed twice at entrepreneurship and I'm on my third run. But I'm learning every single day, and the creativity piece has always been a struggle for me. It just I don't know how to describe it other than that's just how my mind is wired.
And a lot of it is, again, it's our conditioning. Spending 28 years in corporate America myself, you get conditioned through your goal setting, through your 90-day, your 6-month, your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plans and everything else. And then coming up with how you're going to hit it. And then coming up with what you're going to do to recover if you don't hit it and what those objectives you run up against could be and everything else. It's all trained and ingrained into us. That's the way to live. What I do most of the time, but we'll talk realtors because we're talking now. Most realtors, they go and get their license, right? They're excited about the business. They go get their license and then they mentor or a coach or somebody to help them within the brokerage or outside. And they come up with a whole litany of things they have to do in order to be successful. One of the first things I do with almost 100% of my clients, Ryan, is I got to get them to slow down and stop the massive actions, the exhaustive efforts, the working themselves to death, and everything else, the 24/7 type of a mentality. And then as I get them to stop doing that, I look at that whole litany of that they have to do to be successful, and I'll have them pick a couple of those things, ones that they connect with, ones that charge them up and light them up, to do. And then from there, what we'll do is we'll figure out how to spend more time doing those things. That's how I help people with developing systems of accelerating habit. It's not doing the things we can't stand doing because when we're doing that, there's no attraction factor to attract the things to us that we want anyways, or even the people we're dealing with. But when we're doing the things that light us up and that charge us up, then from there, we start doing more of those things and it starts opening that up. And a great example of that is you ever see somebody do a social media live and you can tell they can't stand doing that?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
How long do you watch them for, Ryan?
Not very long. Quick couple seconds, maybe 10 or 15 seconds.
I start feeling bad for that person. Now, you ever see somebody do a live and you can tell, man, they're home. That that's lighting them up. And you'll watch that longer, correct?
Of course.
And that's exactly that what I'm talking about in that analogy. If you can't stand doing something, if somebody can't stand doing the calls and things like that, there's ways around all that as well that I do in training. But if door knocking, whatever it is that realtors do, even the networking, things like that, if you can't stand doing it, doesn't mean you can't be successful at real estate. It means that there's things that charge you up that you need to identify and do more of those things.
So I can tell you from my experience, I hate door knocking and I hate telephone calls, but I've always had to do them in some type of role. But I am learning in entrepreneurship, I have to find the things that I'm good at, but then I still have to kind of balance that out with the things that I'm not, or I choose not to do, because ultimately the business suffers for that. And let's talk realtors, real estate, because that's just an easy
Okay.
topic we're talking about. I know realtors don't like cold calling. I'm there, I'm with them. But at the same time, there's a way to get around that. It's a beautiful thing called social media. Start connecting with people on social media and start warming those connections up to where then when you start interacting with their social media posts or something to that extent, when you make that phone call, it's somewhat warm. It's not they don't know who you are. It's now, okay, I see you're interacting with my social media. What's going on? And I think that's how entrepreneurship has grown on me, but also I've learned along the way is if I suck at something, is there a better way to get at it and maybe take additional steps to get there? It might take me a little bit longer, but it allows me to stay consistent. And that's probably been my best friend is being consistent.
Yes. Absolutely. And somebody teach me a long time ago, and I lived through having a servant's heart. Like I don't sell anymore in anything I do. I just serve. And as I serve, the right people come along. And I'll give you a really good example. I had this spark idea between Christmas and New Year's that I really want to help as many realtors as I can have 2024 be just like an unbelievable year for them, regardless of where they were last year or the year before, anything else. I just want to help them spark some ideas that can really ignite 2024 and ignite that passion within them for what they do. So I've been connecting with people on social media, on Facebook. And as an introduction, I'll just say, hey, if you're open to a brief conversation and do some masterminding during for the 2024 real estate market, let me know. And I'm having so many calls doing that, but I don't have to do the cold call thing. I don't have to call cold and bother, feel like I'm bothering somebody and all the things that come up with that. I work with realtors who don't like cold calling that will I'll work with them, and they'll end up either going to events to meet people, or they'll put events together for people to come into where they can meet new people. Now, like you said, you've already broke the ice there. So
Mm.
going to that next level. So there's so many ways around their traditional. You got to pick up that phone and hammer away at it. You got to go knock on doors. There's so many alternatives. But what happens is it's so ingrained and conditioned into us that this is the route that I have to take to be successful. And I'll tell you, you mentioned this, but I have spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to become successful from somebody else's a roadmap that worked for somebody else, Ryan. And at the end of those things, I walked away feeling like there was something the matter with me because I could not get near that same level. But as soon as I started not worrying about what anybody else is doing, but identifying what works for me and start laying that out and start stepping into it. And all of a sudden, everything, all the pieces started coming together quicker than any other route I could have possibly come up with.
So how do we get into that mindset? How do we get there? Because like you said, we're conditioned. And I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking just from a real estate perspective or business, whatever. Everyone tells you you've got to do it this way. But uh, what did you say? 1/10 or a small percentage of people that
Less
join
than
these?
1% of those
Okay.
people ever achieve the same level of success. Yes.
So less than 1%. So then you wonder why we have such a high the failure rate to where we have individuals that just give up when if we could harness what they're good at or find a better way to get them there is it would probably be it's not probably, it is game changing. So I guess that's where we could start here is how can we do that? What are some nuggets you can share that we can get ourselves there?
Great question. One of the things Is like I said, the brain waves and the actions we take or don't take are triggered through the subconscious mind, or what I call the subconscious mind. Most of the time, we don't even recognize we're living through that conditioning in our actions. So the very first thing is to bring awareness to that, to notice what I call notice what you're noticing, to pay attention to what you're doing and be open to asking, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because it's what I believe is the right thing for me? Or am I doing this just because so many people have told me this is what you have to do? And start questioning that. As you start questioning that, one of the things I'm really big into is find out what lights you up, find out what excites you about what you do. And I'll give you an example. When I was in corporate America, if I had to be in the office 2 days in a row till 5 o'clock or after, I was really ticked off. I felt cheated. I felt annoyed and aggravated and frustrated, and all those feelings that go with it. There's times now that I'll work during the day and 8, 9 o'clock at night, I'll walk in my room next door to the studio and I'll start recording, and I'll record till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And when I get done, I can't sleep because I'm so charged up. So look for those things that charge you up. And then the other thing I would say is understand living through our conditioning is living in our comfort zone. So
Hmm.
doing what's in our comfort zone may not be in our best interest, but it's the most comfortable. So to step outside of that and take different actions is you're going to experience some uncomfortableness. You have to, because it's things you haven't done before. But it's really the only way to break out of that mold and break out of that area and open up the real possibilities of what's in front of you.
So when you're working with realtors, what would you say the top 3 things they struggle with?
Enough listings, time management, and confidence in themselves.
So when you say enough listings, is it boiling down to enough action being taken on their part, as in cold calling or whatever they're trying to do? Or well, actually it boils into the latter, the third point of them having confidence in themselves. So if they don't have confidence in themselves, how are they going to be able to get listings, or how are they going to be able to reach out to somebody?
Yeah, and I'm really big into celebrating successes. Every company, every organization that I help go from bankruptcy into profitability, and these are employees with 3, 4, 500 employees, or companies with 3, 4, 500 employees and stuff, millions and hundreds of $1 million organizations and stuff. And I would always start celebrating successes instead of sitting around 5 days a week for 2.5 hours talking about all the problems. Start looking for successes, and when you do, all of a sudden they start showing up. And I can't believe how many realtors I talk to who have 3 listings and they're going, yeah, that's for this month. What am I going to do next month? And they're already living out there in the next month with fear and anxiety, which is going to bring problems in that. So it's really living in it, bringing it back to right now, looking at what's going on, and really that time management. I know of very few realtors who truly live balanced life that they enjoy, and they get to be there for the family, and they get freedom of time to do what they want when they want, and also a successful real estate business. Very rarely do I find somebody like that. But I'll tell you, I've worked with agents that have gone from their highest year in 13 years of $7.5 million, and in 12 calendar months, almost peaked over $23 million, and has stayed there for the last 5 or 6 years since we've done that. So they've stayed at that upper level. And the year when they grew from 7.5 to 23, that was the only year of their adult life that she took 5 weeks of vacation in that same year when she experienced that growth. And it was
Wow.
only because of this process, and it's only because of we think that if something's not working, what do?
Keep on changing it up.
Work harder,
Yeah.
do more. And actually what's happening in that process is we experience less and less results from that. And it's because we live through our logical mind. And that's where that connection with all the patterns, paradigms, our habit, all of that stuff, where it's almost is like robotic. It's almost like autopilot that we're living our life on. And if something doesn't work, we try harder, or we beat ourselves up, or we think that we're not good enough, or whatever it may be. And it's really just of realtors in a down market that have just launched their business, right?
I've heard of a few, yeah. I hear more on a daily basis that have left the industry than
Well,
actually
and
have.
that was the other side. And
Yep,
then you've heard of realtors who struggled during a boom.
Yes, I have heard that too.
How and my question is, how is that even possible? If it's a boom, how can you struggle? And if the economy is down, how can you launch? See, and what it is, successful realtors, it's not that they do certain things, which is where all the conditioning tells us. It's that we do things a certain way.
Hmm,
That
I
makes
like that.
all the difference in the world. That's how you've heard of coincidences or out of the blue, right? Where things start showing up. Do you know we actually can control that? Not that we can control what they are, but we can get into there's a science behind how we can get into alignment, which goes to the total mindset alignment portion. And we can get into alignment with that happening over again. And as we do, when something that happens out of coincidences like that, it's minimal effort on our part to bring it about. So if you think about living in coincidences happening over and over in your life, there's a lot less effort required in order to bring that about.
So how do we start? How do you start working towards that? Because and this is just a generic thing. As you talk more and more about this, I see more of this in society and culture. And like you started out, whoever's got the loudest voice, it kind of people flock to it like sheep. And it's like, why? Why do we do that? And then how do we change it and move to the other direction and start making change in our lives?
First off, it's through that awareness. Actually, even before that, Ryan, there's a step before that.
Okay.
You know, I only work with so many clients at a time, and there's a reason for that. I won't go into it up. But so I'm pretty honed in on qualifying the person that whether or not I can help this person or not. And what I always use as the indicator to check that box or not is, does this person have an open mind? Are they so stuck to their patterns and their paradigms that nothing else can be true? And if that's the case, I can't do anything for that person. And I found out a long time ago, what I do isn't necessarily for those who need it, it's for those who want it. So I
Mhm.
look, is this person open mind? And in other words, what I mean when I say, do they have an open mind is there's a lot of people I talk to that have the I know syndrome. Everything it's, yeah, I know. An open mind knows a lot, but it's always looking to what can I add to what I already know in this. Anybody listening to this right now, you can be going through the I knows, or you can just look at it and ask yourself, what's something I can add to what I already know? And watch and see how things start showing up differently for you. If somebody's got an open mind, then that awareness is the next step. Being aware of what you're doing when you're doing it. Understanding that will help you understand whether it's a paradigm, whether it's a habit that's no longer serving you, that you're just living by because it's part of your conditioning. And then you can go into the process of shifting that. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways for it. The way I've done it is very unique in the SMT method with my programs, but we have to shift that and get new empowering beliefs of what you do want in the other side.
So it's mindset, but also in the same time, and I'm dumbing this down for myself, we got to believe in ourselves and actually know that we can actually make the change to get us to the other side and not be not be a sheep and be led down that path of this is the loudest voice. It's and I'm talking out loud and I'm going all over the place, but I think
No,
what I wanted
great.
to boil what I really wanted to boil it down to is it starts with us, it's mindset, but the other piece of it is if we want true change in our lives and not going 100 million hours a day craziness, you have to be one dedicated to it, but two be willing to be open to learn whatever these new concepts are, but then also practice them consistently. And if you don't practice them consistently, at least I know for myself, you're not going to get anything. It just doesn't work.
Yes. And you know what? A great driver is pain.
Yes. Pain is
Ship.
something that takes us out, and you have to decide, do you get back up when that pain knocks you down, or do you quit? And I just see too many people quitting because I've gone through a lot of pain as an entrepreneur. So by all means, have I thought about quitting? Yes, many times. Have
Yes.
I? No. It's just not in the DNA and it's not where I'm at. But we see a lot of that. And I go back to realtors. I read an article probably several months back, maybe December, I don't know, where they're saying the realtor space is gonna be diminished by anywhere between 50 to 60% of the people are getting out of that space, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking, at the same time, man, maybe I should go jump in.
What's sad about that, Ryan, is it just, again, the way they're going about it, that's bringing the results they're experiencing. It's not that it's not possible for them. And you talked about having that belief.
Hmm.
The reason I said that about pain is I've been able to help so many people. And again, realtors we talk about, but entrepreneurs, business owners, things like that. I've been able to help so many people who are just miserable enough. They're open to trying something different. And then that can bring about new results in doing so. Following the old ways is what's going to lead to that 50 or 60% you're talking about. And I've seen the similar stats to that, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
I was just saying it doesn't have to be that way, but it really is our choice, our individual choice. Whether it's okay, this isn't working, I give up on it, and it's not good or bad. It just is what it is. Or whether it's, man, I'm so passionate about this. Like with what I do, I'm so passionate about it. My purpose of my life is to inspire millions of peoples with my works, and so I do that through coaching, speaking, writing books, things like that. But also this year we're launching an institute to certify coaches in the SMT program. So now I can spread that the footprint of my works beyond what I could do myself.
That's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
that now you're scaling your business, but also keeping that peace of mind for yourself to where you're not spending a billion hours a day working. So you're putting the time and effort in, but then you'll be able to have that work life balance. And I keep on going back to realtors because that's a mindset, and I do have realtors listening to this. So the thing that I see internally, and I don't know enough about it, and maybe it's something you can expand on, is there's a lot of traditional thought in that space that you have to do X to get Y or whatever you want to look at. How it's not just that space, it's life too. What do we do? I know we have to adapt the mindset, but what else can we do that gets us there?
Then there's so many things, but that's like the key, really. We have to do something different than the norm. I'll talk to, if you look at the real that went from 7.5 to $20 million in 12 calendar, that's unrealistic. It's not realistic that would even be possible to do. But in actuality, it actually literally happened. And so what happens is a lot of people will hear stuff like that and they'll go, that's BS because it's not realistic to them. But what it is, we have unrealistic visions for what we want in our life. We want to have freedom. We want to have financial abundance. We want to have love. We want to have the things we want to have in our life. It's not realistic. So then we go about and what we do is we live like a mediocre level of what we truly want because we're stuck, which again is a logical thought of something being realistic or unrealistic. But we want unrealistic. We have unrealistic desires for our life, but we want to live through things being realistic.
Hmm.
So breaking out of that requires some actions that can be uncomfortable to get to that other side, but it is possible.
And anything's possible. You just have to be willing to put the time and effort into it to get yourself there. And as you said earlier, pain. There's going to be pain with it, and it just
If I can interject something real quick,
yeah, yeah.
without is almost across the board, every client I've worked with was in their greatest level of pain or misery or uncomfortableness before we started working together. Once we started the process, that fades away because we start bringing about those things. We start instituting changes, stepping in through the fears and everything else to start bringing it. So the pool of pain or misery is to get us to the point of saying, okay, I'm willing to do something different. Once you do something different, if you're in that process, it should no longer be pain and misery going through it. It should be excitement. There should be like, you should see potentials opening up. I don't know what's happening with my phone here. You should see potentials opening up and opportunities unfolding for you through that process. It should no longer be pain and misery. And one of the things every individual organization I work with, I start with developing what I call a dynamic vision and I have road mapping tools for that. So we get very clear on what it is that you desire. In doing so, that was one of the shifts I saw in organizations that were in bankruptcy going forward, but with every client I work with. And the reason I'm so key on that is because we can either be pushed by our pain, which is, like I said, how I meet most people, or we can be pulled by our vision. So if you think of that, opening up part of that vision would be exciting to open up another part and keep going forward. So you get to leave the pain and misery side behind. You get to go into almost like a transformation of a new way of living life. And it's not about you said that about you just got to be willing to put the effort. It's not about the effort, it's about the alignment. When we get into alignment, the effort becomes minimal in comparison to what it is without that. And without the mindset portion of it, having that alignment, all efforts could lead nowhere with regards to results.
Interesting. We could go on for an hour on this. This is a great topic to discuss, but we're getting close here to wrapping things up. One other question. You say you limit the amount of clients that you currently work with. Are you taking clients on now or are you not?
Yeah, I do have some slots open. The reason I do that is unlike a lot of coaching programs that I've personally been through, is I don't believe I can be effective in somebody's life by a one call a week and that's it. So what I do is I make myself available to my clients where they literally have a coach throughout the whole time we're working together. So if somebody runs into something and they hits a paradigm, I don't want them to wait till the next scheduled call. I want them to have an avenue where they can get a hold of me and we can deal with that. So they get the most out of the program as possible. So in order for me to do that and have a time allocated for that, I need to set the number of clients I work with based. But yeah, I do have openings right now. I also
And
have another thing we're talking realtors is I'm just launching a weekly mastermind group specific to realtors, and it's to help them start getting that alignment going, start seeing some changes, and start opening up easier opportunities for them, but in opening up some of that free time in their everyday life.
is it a mastermind that anybody can join, pay? What is it?
It's specific for realtors.
Okay. I know,
And it
but
also includes a one-on-one coaching with me once a month.
okay.
We're involved. It's the type of thing, it's a membership type of setting where you can sign up. It's low investment, but they can sign up for it and you cancel at any time.
Okay. We'll definitely need to share that link in the show notes. So if
Okay.
realtors want to be able to join, they can. Best place that someone can reach out to you if they want to connect, but also potentially work with you.
Anybody that wants to reach out to me, I set up a calendar specifically for a 15-minute call. So if you heard something here and you want to go a little deeper, you questions or honestly, I tell people, even if you think this was all BS, but you're open to talking about, I'd love to have the conversation. And all you have to do is go to coachwithjoey.com.
Okay.
All one word, coach with Joey, and then .com. And you can schedule a 15-minute call with me. We'll jump on there and just converse for 15 minutes.
Great. I will also put that in the show notes so we take care of that. Sir, thank you very much for coming on. But better yet, man, you shared some great information and mindset is huge. It doesn't matter what you're in, life, it's huge. And we're so programmed to do one thing and it's to follow that path and you're breaking it. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Really enjoyed talking with you, Ryan.
Thank you, sir. Have a great one.